The great dome of the alien university hummed with anticipation. Every student in the program knew the rumors about Earth, that its storms could tear steel, its beasts could shatter bone, and its native species, humans, were not just survivors but masters of a world that never relented. For cycles, their lessons had spoken of Earth as the galaxy's Deathworld, but it all sounded like myth. For all their advanced technology and peace, not one among the class had ever seen a planet so untamed. When the assignment came, a full semester on Earth to study its environment and the humans within it, nervous laughter rippled through the group. Yanni, youngest of the cohort, tried to hide a shiver. They had never encountered violence, never felt hunger or fear. Their own world was protected, safe, without predators. The professor, old and scarred, regarded them gravely. "You must not interfere. Observe only. Survive if you can. Remember, humans are not your enemies, but this world, it will test you." The shuttle landed at dusk, under whirling clouds, with rain sheeting the glass and lightning clawing at the horizon. Stepping out onto soil that trembled beneath their feet, the students were struck by the raw energy in the air. Branches whipped in the wind. The smell of petrichor mingled with something electric. In the distance, they glimpsed a small human settlement bracing for a coming storm, men and women lashing boards to windows, children ushered indoors, pets collected. There was a rhythm to it, an urgent coordination, but no panic. They recorded everything: how a father tied down loose objects, how neighbors moved from house to house, always checking on the old or weak. It was clear this was routine. The professor's voice, relayed over their comms, offered a final warning before silence. "See how they prepare. Ask yourselves why such strength is needed. Watch how they endure." The first night, the aliens took shelter in a camouflage pod, watching the storm through unblinking eyes. The sky cracked open. Rain battered the ground until it seemed the world would split. Houses shook, but not one light flickered out. At dawn, as the world quieted and steam rose from battered fields, the students emerged. The humans were already outside, surveying damage and righting what had fallen. Not one looked defeated. Some laughed at snapped trees or muddy shoes. Children splashed in puddles. It wasn't what the aliens expected of a death world. It was resilience, so matter-of-fact it bordered on defiance. As the students huddled, transcribing notes, Yanni wondered aloud, "What does it take for a species to live this way, every day?" No one had an answer. By the end of their first cycle, their report brimmed with questions, but the pattern was clear. On Earth, the extraordinary was routine, and survival was not a struggle. It was a culture, a choice, and a way of life. The alien students began their research in earnest, entering the wild heart of the world they had only glimpsed from afar. The forest's edge felt like a living threat, every shadow hinting at unknown dangers. Their first challenge came without warning: a sudden commotion in the undergrowth, a blur of movement, and the unmistakable snarl of a predator. Before they could react, one among them was struck and left wounded, terror etched in wide, luminous eyes. Panic threatened to overwhelm the group. Their training, perfect for safe environments, failed in this place where unpredictability reigned. Yet as fear took hold, figures emerged from the trees, humans, moving swiftly and without hesitation. They examined the injured alien, administered basic aid, and signaled reassurance. Their manner held no fear of the world around them, only an unspoken understanding of its risks. Trust, once only a concept in the curriculum, became necessity. The students watched as humans worked seamlessly in teams, never pausing to debate or second-guess. A storm descended before nightfall, bringing roaring winds and torrential rain. The aliens, overwhelmed and unprepared, found themselves gathered with the humans in a makeshift shelter, every action purposeful and calm. Through the long night, they witnessed a unity and resilience that defied expectation. When the shelter shuddered in the wind, hands reached out to reinforce walls. When a child cried, a stranger's embrace brought comfort. Every setback, mud, cold, uncertainty, was met with a solution, not complaint. The aliens realized that fear was not absent, but contained, managed, and shaped into resolve. By morning, the devastation was clear. Fallen trees, flooded roads, and debris marked the land, but not defeat. The humans rose, assessed, and began the task of recovery as though it were as routine as breathing. Gratitude was exchanged for help given freely, and the group moved from crisis to action without pause. The aliens, shaken and awed, began to understand that survival on Earth was never guaranteed, and that every act of kindness or courage was sharpened by the omnipresent possibility of loss. The questions that once filled their reports faded, replaced by observations of instinctive generosity, learned determination, and an unspoken code: protect one another, endure, adapt. What was labeled as brutality by other civilizations was, in truth, a refusal to submit, a daily choice to continue in the face of uncertainty. The lesson was no longer theoretical. Survival, they understood, was the engine of empathy, and strength meant reaching out, even in the midst of danger. The boundaries of their understanding shifted, and for the first time, they grasped why Earth's people thrived where others would falter. The students sat together, their voices hushed as they tried to process everything they had witnessed. Questions circled. How could anyone adapt to such relentless challenges? One student, still trembling from the night before, spoke of the calm purpose she'd seen in human eyes even during the worst moments. Another wondered aloud if fear ever faded, or if it simply became part of life. Their instructor called them together, his tone unexpectedly somber. He explained that the real secret of Earth's fearsome reputation was not the violence or chaos, but the force of spirit cultivated by its people. He told them stories collected from centuries, of humans rebuilding after devastation, of communities resisting invaders, of individuals defying both nature and fate. Each story echoed with the same message: the most dangerous trait on Earth was not aggression, but the refusal to surrender. As the students listened, the pieces fit together. Humans did not dominate because they were stronger or smarter than everything else, but because they would not yield, not even in the face of impossible odds. This stubbornness inspired others, drawing allies and sometimes even turning enemies into friends. Throughout history, humans had pushed back against extinction, refusing to let disaster or oppression dictate their fate. One student confessed that she had expected Earth's people to be hardened and ruthless, but instead found their defiance paired with kindness and an openness to help even strangers. The group recognized that this blend of resilience and compassion was rare, and perhaps more formidable than brute strength. To them, every risk and every loss had become a lesson. Grief taught adaptation, hardship bred solidarity. The instructor finished with a warning that in every era, those who tried to control or break humanity discovered a truth: a spirit that can inspire rebellion cannot be contained. The students realized that this was what their own elders feared: not destruction, but the power of hope, courage, and unbreakable will. In that moment, the alien students understood what it meant to live on a death world, and why Earth's story was not one of despair, but of constant renewal and defiant life. The ground trembled with the force of the earthquake, tearing through the region with sudden, violent energy. In an instant, the world became chaos. Buildings fractured, roads cracked, and cries for help rose above the destruction. The alien students, once so sure of their separation, found themselves drawn into the human struggle. For the first time, action replaced observation. They helped clear debris, carried the injured, and followed the orders of those who knew how to lead in disaster. There was no hesitation, only urgency. Despair threatened to settle over the survivors, but it never took hold. The humans moved with purpose, searching for lost neighbors, bandaging wounds, sharing water and food. Their unity became contagious. The students, overwhelmed by the scale of ruin, drew strength from the determination of those around them. One alien risked exhaustion to dig a child free, another used medical knowledge to stabilize the wounded. Each act, however small, pushed back against the darkness threatening to swallow hope. As hours passed, the immediate threat faded, replaced by the slow work of recovery. The students saw pain and tears, but more powerful was the refusal to give up. Strangers worked together as if bound by invisible ties, comforting one another, dividing what little remained. There was no talk of fate or surrender. Instead, the effort was relentless, every hand contributing, every resource stretched. The students' former detachment crumbled, replaced by genuine empathy and a sense of belonging they had never known. When at last the danger had passed, the survivors gathered to mourn, remember, and rebuild. The students realized the meaning of the stories they had heard. The Deathworld label had nothing to do with destruction or savagery. It was about the people who endured it all and chose to start again, every single time. They carried this lesson home, their view of humanity transformed. In the face of devastation, Earth's greatest strength was not the ability to survive, but the unbreakable decision to stand together and create hope from the ruins. The alien students, forever changed, understood that this relentless spirit was why Earth would always be known as a death world, and why those who called it home could never be conquered.